Have you ever noticed something funny? Some people retire, and within a few years they seem to get 10 years older. Then there's that one person who's 72, laughing louder than everyone else, walking faster than people half their age, making friends everywhere they go, and somehow has more energy than their grandkids. You look at them and think, what are they eating? Turns out, it may not be what they're eating, it may be what they're doing. Today we're talking about 7 retirement hobbies that keep you young after 60, inspired by Carl Jung's ideas about purpose, growth, and living a meaningful life. And before you think, oh great, another video telling me to knit sweaters, relax. Nobody is forcing you to become a professional gardener or start painting tiny birds at 6 in the morning. Some of these hobbies are so simple you'll probably say, I've been doing that all along. Stick around because the last hobby surprises almost everyone. Yet it's one of the biggest reasons some people seem to never grow old on the inside. Now I have to ask, how old are you today? Drop your age and tell everyone where you're watching from. I love seeing people from all over the world in these comments. And if you're under 60, don't run away. You're basically getting tomorrow's cheat sheet today. Let's jump right in. Number 1. Walking, but not like you're training for the Olympics. Now hear me out. Walking sounds boring. I know. Some people hear the word walking and immediately imagine someone wearing giant headphones, staring at a fitness watch that keeps yelling, only 9,000 more steps. No thank you. That's not what we're talking about. The magic isn't just moving your legs. It's giving your mind somewhere peaceful to go. Carl Jung believed we discover ourselves during quiet moments, not while we're rushing, not while the TV is shouting, not while our phone is buzzing every 3 seconds. Sometimes your best thoughts show up when your feet are moving. I remember an older gentleman named George. George retired at 66. For the first 6 months he watched television like it was his full-time job. Morning news, afternoon news, evening news, late-night news. At one point, he knew more about the weather in Alaska than the weather outside his own house. One day his wife looked at him and said, "George, you've become part of the couch." That one sentence hit him harder than any doctor's advice. The next morning he started walking around the neighborhood, just 15 minutes. Nothing fancy. Within weeks, something changed. He wasn't just walking. He was waving at neighbors, talking to dog owners, watching kids ride bikes, smiling at flowers he had probably driven past for 20 years without noticing. He came home happier every single day. And here's the funny part. He said, "I started walking to exercise, but somehow I ended up collecting friends." Now that's a good trade. Here's a little challenge. The next time you walk, don't rush. Notice 5 things you've never noticed before. Maybe it's a funny mailbox. Maybe it's a bird acting like it owns the whole street. Birds are surprisingly confident. One little pigeon walks around like he pays property tax. Walking isn't about proving you're young. It's about reminding yourself you're still alive. Big difference. And let me ask you something. Have you ever gone for a short walk because you were upset and somehow came back feeling better? Tell me in the comments. I know I'm not the only one. Number 2. Learn something that makes your grandchildren say, "Wait, you can do that?" Now this one is fun. Some people retire and think, my learning days are over. Who made that rule? Seriously, who sat everyone down and announced, "Attention everyone over 60, no more learning allowed"? Nobody. That's just one of those silly stories people believe. Carl Jung often talked about becoming who you truly are. That journey doesn't stop at retirement. If anything, retirement gives you more time to become the person you've always wanted to be. Maybe you've always wanted to learn photography, play the guitar, bake amazing bread, speak another language, dance, use a smartphone without accidentally opening 17 apps. We've all been there. You tap one button. Suddenly you're in settings wondering how your flashlight turned on. Technology has a sense of humor. I met a woman named Linda. She was 71. She decided to learn watercolor painting. The first painting, let's just say, if she told me it was a horse, I would have politely believed her. It looked more like a potato wearing shoes. But she laughed. She kept painting. 6 months later, her walls were covered with beautiful artwork. Her confidence grew. Her friends asked for paintings. Her grandchildren wanted painting lessons. She didn't just gain a hobby. She discovered a whole new version of herself. That's the beautiful thing about learning. It reminds your brain, I'm still growing. And growing people don't feel old. Think about little kids. They're always learning, always asking questions, always curious. Maybe that's why they have so much energy. Curiosity keeps the heart young. Here's something fun. Try learning one tiny thing this week. Just one. Not because you have to, because it's fun. Learn how to make the perfect pancakes. Learn 3 words in Spanish. Learn a card trick. Imagine showing your grandkids a magic trick and actually fooling them. You'll become the coolest grandparent in town. Although, don't get too good. They'll start asking you to perform at every birthday party. That's a dangerous level of success. Here's today's question. If you could learn absolutely anything, no limits, what would it be? Write it down in the comments. I promise someone reading your answer might say, "You know what? I'm going to try that too." That's how inspiration spreads. One simple comment at a time. And trust me, the next hobby might be the easiest one on this list, but it quietly changes people in ways they never expected. So far we've talked about walking and learning something new. Pretty simple, right? Nothing crazy. No climbing mountains. No running marathons. No waking up at 4 in the morning to swim across a frozen lake. Who even came up with that idea? Some people retire just to finally sleep in. And then the internet says, wake up at 4:30 to be successful. No thanks. Let's keep this fun. Because the next hobby doesn't just make life more enjoyable. It gives people something many retirees don't even realize they've been missing. Number 3, make something with your hands. Now don't panic. I'm not saying you need to build a house. If your last DIY project ended with 3 extra screws and a table that rocks every time someone touches it, welcome to the club. Making something with your hands can be almost anything. Gardening, woodworking, knitting, cooking, pottery, building little birdhouses, even fixing an old chair that's been sitting in the garage for 10 years waiting for one day. You know that chair. Everybody has one. The beautiful thing is, when you make something, you can actually see your progress. And that feels good. Carl Jung believed people need to express what's inside them. Sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes your hands tell the story. I remember hearing about a man named Robert. Robert spent 40 years working in an office. Every single day was papers, meetings, coffee, more meetings. Retirement came, and suddenly he didn't know what to do with himself. One afternoon his grandson asked, "Grandpa, can we build a birdhouse?" Robert almost said no. He'd never built one before. But they gave it a try. The first birdhouse? Let's just say, if I were a bird, I'd probably keep flying. The roof leaned to one side. The paint was everywhere. The little door looked like it had been chewed by a squirrel. But they laughed the entire afternoon. The next weekend, they built another, then another. Before long, neighbors started asking if Robert could make one for them too. Not because they were perfect, because every single one had personality. Robert later said something beautiful. "I thought I was building birdhouses. Turns out I was building happy memories." Now that's worth more than perfect woodwork. You know what's funny? Have you noticed older people who love gardening? Ask them one simple question. "How are your tomatoes doing?" "Congratulations, You just signed up for a 30-minute conversation. They'll show you pictures, videos, growth updates, tomato number 1, tomato number 2, the tomato family reunion. And honestly, I love that, because excitement keeps people young. The day we stop getting excited about little things, life starts feeling smaller. So don't worry about making something perfect. Just make something. A pie, a flower bed, a picture frame, cookies. Even if the cookies come out looking like little rocks. Call them rustic. That's what fancy restaurants do. Now here's a question for you. What's something you've always wanted to make, but never got around to? I'd love to read your answers. Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire somebody else watching this. Because speaking of inspiring people, the next hobby might be the most powerful one on this entire list. And here's the funny part. It doesn't cost a single penny. Number 4. Make new friends. Yes, even now. Let's be honest. Making friends as adults feels weird. When we're kids, it's easy. Hi. Wanna play? Boom. Best friends for life. Adults? It's different. We overthink everything. What if they don't like me? What if I'm bothering them? What if they think I'm strange? Meanwhile, they're probably wondering exactly the same thing. Carl Jung believed people become healthier when they build real connections, not fake ones. Real conversations, real laughter, real friendship. Loneliness can make a person feel old much faster than birthdays ever will. But friendship keeps your spirit moving. There's a lady in my neighborhood named Martha. She's 74. Every Wednesday she meets 4 friends at the same little cafe. They've been doing it for years. Now listen carefully. Half the time they aren't solving world problems. They're arguing about pie. Seriously. Apple pie, cherry pie, pumpkin pie. One week they spent 20 minutes trying to remember the name of an actor. Nobody remembered. They laughed anyway. Those are the moments that matter. Not because they're important, because they're joyful. And joy has a funny way of keeping wrinkles from reaching your heart. I once heard someone say, "You don't stop laughing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop laughing." That really stayed with me. Here's something else. Friendship doesn't always mean finding 10 new people. Sometimes it's simply calling that old friend you've been thinking about for months. You know the one. You've said, "I should call them," about 87 times. Today's your sign. Do it. The conversation might end up being the highlight of your whole week. And don't underestimate community groups. Walking clubs, church groups, book clubs, volunteer groups, dance classes, cooking classes, even playing cards every Friday afternoon. The activity almost doesn't matter. The people do. Here's a little joke. Retired people can turn a 5-minute grocery trip into a 2-hour social event. You go in for milk. You meet your neighbor, then your cousin, then someone you haven't seen since high school. Next thing you know, the ice cream melted. Worth it. So tell me, how long have you known your oldest friend? 5 years? 20? 50? I'd love to see those numbers in the comments. And if you're lucky enough to still have a childhood friend, treasure that. Those friendships are priceless. Now, ready for one of my favorites? Because this next hobby doesn't just keep people young, it gives them a reason to jump out of bed in the morning. Number 5. Become the family storyteller. This one doesn't get talked about enough. Every family has one person who tells the best stories. Maybe that's already you. Or maybe it's time to become that person. Here's the truth. People don't remember us because we were perfect. They remember the stories, the funny moments, the embarrassing moments, the adventures, the lessons. Carl Jung believed our lives are built from the stories we tell ourselves and the meaning we give them. Your story matters, more than you think. I met a grandfather once who started writing down one memory every Sunday. Just one, the time he got lost on his first day at work. The day he met his wife. The biggest fish he never actually caught. According to his friends, that fish gets bigger every year. Funny how that happens. His grandchildren absolutely loved those stories. Not because Grandpa was famous, because Grandpa was Grandpa. One evening his granddaughter said, "I hope you never stop telling stories." Can you imagine hearing that? That's a gift. You don't even have to write. You can record voice messages, make little videos, tell stories at family dinners, share old photographs, pass down recipes. Explain why your family has that one strange tradition nobody understands anymore. Every family has one. Mine probably does too. Half the time nobody even knows where it started. They just keep doing it because that's how Grandma always did it. And somehow, that's enough. Here's something funny. Older people always begin stories the same way. Now this happened back in 1978. And somehow we know we're about to hear something unforgettable. Sometimes the story is hilarious. Sometimes it's touching. Sometimes halfway through they forget what they were talking about. Then somebody reminds them. Then everybody laughs. Those moments become family treasures. So don't ever think your stories aren't interesting. Someone out there, especially your children and grandchildren, needs to hear them. Because one day, those stories become memories, and memories become a family's greatest inheritance. Now I've got a question. Who was the funniest storyteller in your family? Was it your dad? Your grandma? An uncle who exaggerated everything? Tell me in the comments. I have a feeling we're going to see some amazing memories down there, and we're not done yet. The next 2 hobbies might be the most life-changing of them all. We've laughed. We've talked about walking, learning new things, making things with our hands, making friends, and becoming the family storyteller. But don't leave yet, because these last 2 hobbies may be the ones that quietly change your life the most. They're simple, they're fun, and they remind us that retirement isn't the end of the adventure. Sometimes it's where the best chapters begin. Number 6. Volunteer and watch what happens now. Before you say, "Oh no, you're about to tell me to work for free," hold on, that's not what this is about. I'm talking about giving a little bit of your time doing something that makes you smile. Maybe helping at your church, maybe reading to children, helping at an animal shelter, teaching someone a skill you've spent years learning, or even helping your neighbor fix a broken fence. You'd be surprised how good it feels to hear someone say, "Thank you, I couldn't have done that without you." Carl Jung believed that meaning gives life its deepest joy, and sometimes meaning shows up in the smallest moments. There was a retired mechanic named Sam. After retirement, he kept saying, "I don't know what my purpose is anymore." One Saturday, his local community center asked if he could teach teenagers basic car maintenance. He almost said no. "I've done enough work in my life." But he gave it one try. A few weeks later, those teenagers weren't just learning how to change a tire. They were learning confidence. And Sam, he wasn't just teaching, he was laughing again. One student even called him Coach. Now, every Saturday morning he gets up before his alarm. Not because he has to, because he wants to. That's the difference. Purpose has an alarm clock of its own. Here's a funny truth. Older people love giving advice. Sometimes, even when nobody asked. You tell your grandpa you're buying a toaster. 20 minutes later, you've received a complete life lesson. But honestly, that's part of the charm. Because deep down, people want to feel useful. They want to know they still have something valuable to offer. And they absolutely do. So maybe this week, help someone. Not because you expect anything back, just because kindness has a funny way of coming back around. Have you ever had a stranger help you when you really needed it? If you have, tell us that story in the comments. Those kinds of stories restore people's faith in humanity. Now, we've reached the final hobby. And honestly, It's probably the easiest one on this list. No equipment, no membership, no special talent. Just one simple decision. Number 7. Never lose your sense of play. This one might surprise you. When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it was productive, not because someone expected you to, just because it made you smile. Carl Jung believed there is a child within every one of us. That child doesn't disappear. We simply forget to invite them out once in a while. Think about children for a second. They dance in the kitchen. They laugh at silly faces. They chase bubbles. They sing songs with the wrong words and don't care. Meanwhile, adults are standing there saying, "I don't dance." Why not? Who's judging you? The dog? The refrigerator? Dance anyway. One couple in their late 70s had a little tradition. Every Friday night after dinner, they turned on their favorite old songs. No fancy dance floor, just their living room. Sometimes they remembered all the steps. Sometimes they made them up. Sometimes one forgot which foot to move. The other one laughed. And they kept going. One day their grandson walked in and asked, "What are you two doing?" The husband smiled and said, "Practicing for when we're 90. I absolutely love that. Now that's a life goal. Playing doesn't mean acting immature. It means refusing to let joy retire before you do. Play cards, solve puzzles, go bowling, fly a kite, play catch with your grandkids, build a sandcastle, color in a coloring book, buy that giant puzzle you've been looking at for months. And yes, eat ice cream once in a while. Life is too short to argue with chocolate, unless someone steals the last scoop. Now that's a serious family meeting. Here's something I've noticed. The happiest older people aren't trying to be young. They're simply refusing to stop enjoying life. And that's a beautiful difference. Carl Jung once believed that life isn't about holding on to who you used to be. It's about continuing to grow into who you're becoming. Retirement isn't the finish line. It's a new beginning, a chance to discover new talents, new friends, new adventures, new stories. You don't have to climb mountains. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to prove your age is just a number. Just keep living, keep laughing, keep learning, keep loving, keep showing up for life, because growing older is automatic, growing wiser, growing kinder, growing happier. That's a choice we get to make every single day, and maybe, just maybe, staying young has never been about your birthday. Maybe it's about your curiosity, your laughter, your friendships, your purpose, and the way you choose to greet each new morning. Before we finish, I want to hear from you. Which hobby are you already doing, and which one are you going to start this week? Write it in the comments. I really do read them, and I love seeing all the wonderful ideas you share with each other. If this video brought a smile to your face, or reminded you that life after 60 can still be full of adventure, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little encouragement today. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Every week we explore simple wisdom inspired by Carl Jung, practical ideas for living well, and little reminders that life doesn't stop getting beautiful just because we get older. Until next time, take care of yourself. Keep your heart light, keep your mind curious, and never ever let the little kid inside you retire. I'll see you in the next video.